The animals until you bring them here. No, remember our baby gorilla film? Baby gorilla. Jim, the infant gorilla. A young monkey grabbed the attention on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson in the golden age of late-night television. His inquiring eyes and almost human expressions charmed hearts across America and left everyone asking, who was this small creature? He was unlike every other ape we'd seen. Why? Why did his tail disappear after that unforgettable night? Here's Johnny Carson's strange baby gorilla story and the truth time almost forgot. Live television creates a star. The year was legendary for Johnny Carson's The Tonight Show, which was full of comedy, wit, and surprises. One night, the stage lights dimmed, just enough to tip the viewers off to something extraordinary. I was shy. That sounds ambivalent, right? No. You know, on stage in front of an audience. A zookeeper held a young gorilla, not a famous actor or musician, as the curtain rose. His name was Oliver. Audience gasped initially. Johnny turned towards the little creature with that magic-making look, eliciting warm laughter and applause. Oliver was no ordinary animal guest. His posture was strikingly human. His small fists clasped tightly, as if unsure of this strange new world of lights and cameras. His black eyes scanned the studio, curious, intelligent, and apprehensive but calm. That captivated everyone. Carson leaned forward and made a famous joke, and the crowd erupted. The studio was filled with laughter, but not mocking or bullying laughter. Pure adoration, save for something adorable. The show's rhythm slowed briefly. People stopped watching jokes. They were watching a strangely intense contact between man and beast that resembled something familiar. Oliver, one of several infant monkeys at the zoo, was very young. The zookeeper told Johnny and the crowd softly. He boasted of raising 22. Oliver is one of our newest babies. Johnny nodded in admiration as the crowd clapped again. The discourse was easy, mingling humor and soft wonder. Oliver moved mesmerizingly. He clung to his blanket like a toddler to a toy, blinking carefully as if digesting every sound and face. Carson joked, "Why does Oliver always appear sad? Is Oliver content?" The zookeeper laughed and said, "Of course he is. Most gorillas are thoughtful. As they age, their expressions will increase." When Johnny reached out, Oliver bent his head to inspect him. Laughter turned into interest from the hosts. "We had excellent folks. We'll reproduce Jack Webb's excellent dragnet comedy. We have Barroom Bra." As cameras focused on Oliver, studio lights gently shone off his fur. Watchers at home could see every microscopic detail, his exquisite facial lines, and his small hands' deliberate, almost human-like accuracy. Oliver briefly wasn't a guest. He evoked an emotional connection that television rarely caught. The encounter was made special by Oliver's charm and his ease in crossing species and turning curiosity into empathy. Something beyond entertaining happened on The Tonight Show that night. Without saying a word, a young gorilla reminded millions that animals may mirror humanity's gentlest side. The applause wasn't just for Johnny Carson. For Oliver, the surprise child star who had won America's heart. What if that innocent stare had a secret science couldn't explain? Stay tuned for answers. What's behind Oliver's odd charm? Millions remembered Oliver's innocent face from his broadcast debut. Fans couldn't stop talking about the human-like newborn gorilla. He moved and looked at people curiously and thoughtfully, as if he understood more than he should have. Oliver continued talking as the credits rolled, unlike other animals on The Tonight Show. At first, they were enchanted. Following the event, families gathered around breakfast tables to describe the baby gorilla with somber eyes. Newspapers mentioned him briefly, the little primate who stole Johnny Carson's spotlight. Admiration soon became into intrigue and speculation. What differentiated this baby gorilla? People who observed intently saw traits that didn't fit the gorilla stereotype. His face appeared flatter, his nose thinner, and his expressions more defined, shockingly similar to human. Some claimed his eyes were too knowing, contemplative, like he was thinking, not just responding. When his appearance footage were replayed, others whispered the same question. Was Oliver a gorilla? Something more? Before the internet or timely scientific confirmations, rumors spread rapidly in the early 2000s. Oliver may not be an ape was the most shocking allegation. He was termed the human Z, supposed human-chimpanzee hybrid. The theory was ridiculous, but it caught imaginations. He was erect, serene, and had a human-like light in his eyes. So how else could anyone explain that? Animal behaviorists, fascinated but skeptical, studied Oliver's photos. Some dismissed the claims instantly, but others reconsidered. The zoo staff who reared him said he was more cooperative and attentive, less aggressive than most apes. He rarely had tantrums, liked people, and mimicked motions. Not sure, but it's a garden. Not a big garden. It is. Not a big garden. Quite comfortable. I like it. I like it. Qualities that only intensify the mystique surrounding him. Television producers and talk show hosts saw an opening. The mysterious Oliver intrigued viewers, and periodicals and documentaries covered him. He was discussed at coffee tables as a strange mix of science, curiosity, and awe. Everyone wondered if this creature was a natural accident or something new. Oliver remained nice and quiet despite his growing celebrity. Despite the beliefs about his beginnings, he grew. His daily carers didn't find him a scientific puzzle or an evolutionary oddity. Oliver was affectionate, intellectual, and had a mysterious, innocent glance. But as his narrative spread, interest darkened. Scientists, collectors, and even skeptics were drawn to the weird little monkey who once captured America's heart on live television. As his narrative spread, curiosity darkened. This innocent creature may be harboring a science-unready truth. Keep watching. His life began far from television and laughs before Oliver appeared on The Tonight Show. He grew up in a small private zoo that carefully raised baby primates. The handlers had worked with dozens of apes, over 22, but Oliver was unique. From childhood, he had a unique tranquility and alertness. Oliver quietly studied features, followed movement, and reacted with uncommon stillness, whereas other infant chimps clung to their moms or carers. His housekeepers joked that he was always thinking. He was friendly but restrained, playful but delicate, almost if he comprehended his environment. Oliver loved close human contact and responded to words, tones, and movements in a way that seemed too knowledgeable for a young monkey. The staff loved him. He was known as the thoughtful-eyed infant. Visiting family enjoyed watching him interact. Children laughed as he reached out from his enclosure and mimicked their actions or gently tugged at their sleeves. It was adorable how he connected with people by quiet understanding, not frantic intensity. Many saw a bridge between Oliver and his carers. As a child, he was bottle-fed, wrapped in little clothes for warmth, and cuddled when scared. The handler talked to him continuously, thinking it soothed him. Oliver learned to walk upright for short periods, respond to his name, and follow human action with remarkable precision. Curiosity became fascination, then astonishment. Zookeepers were proud and protective of their tiny celebrity. Sensing that not all attention is beneficial, was chosen to appear on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson as demand for exotic animal features on TV soared. The goal was to exhibit a rare and clever species in a cheerful, straightforward way, not to cause controversy. When Oliver appeared on camera, everything changed. What was previously a private life among his carers became public. Johnny's interest, the audience's laughing, and the national spotlight would open a door that could never be closed again. Oliver became more than a beloved zoo animal that night. Mystery, study, and myth surrounded him. His nature became more intriguing as tales about his origins grew louder. People wondered who Oliver was. The compassionate hands who reared him could no longer shelter him from the flood of attention that was about to sweep the country, setting the stage for the tempest of speculation and science that would define his next chapter. Does this lovely, wide-eyed creature defy nature? Bridge between man and ape or myth? Stay updated. Oliver's renown grew beyond Johnny Carson's studio, and his youthful curiosity became more nuanced. The pleasant TV scene was increasingly becoming the topic of passionate debates, wild rumors, and scientific inquiry. People asked the same question nationwide. What was Oliver? It all started with his appearance. Photos and audio circulated. The more people saw him, the odder he seemed. The public saw his face as flatter, his ears higher, and his nose more defined, which seemed bizarrely human. He often walked on two legs for short distances, a rare characteristic in chimpanzees. Some observers thought his stance was too upright and natural, like he enjoyed walking like a person. Others noted that he rarely showed species-typical hostility. He was polite and quiet, yet his eyes showed unease and amazement. Newspapers started using catchy headlines. One report boldly claimed a human-chimpanzee hybrid, the human Z. The tale circulated rapidly. Oliver's face and Ammon's were compared on magazine covers, challenging readers to distinguish. Television replayed his actions on The Tonight Show, slowing them down to find concealed evidence. Scientists disagreed. Some disputed the rumors, suggesting Oliver's unique appearance could be natural chimpanzee diversity. But others hesitated. Why Oliver didn't have a thick brow and jutting muzzle was a mystery. His lighter skin, smaller teeth, and less hairy appearance were even more strange. It made scientists worry if nature's hidden design had changed. Oliver's life was changing swiftly, fueling the speculation. His carers were overwhelmed by the unexpected attention and regular testing and appearances, so he was relocated about. Each shift took him further from his basic, nurturing upbringing. He became a public curiosity, a living question worth answering. However, those who saw him saw a calm, thoughtful person who craved serenity and friendship. The Oliver craze revealed humanity more than him. The thought of a human-like animal intrigued and frightened people. Fear that the line between man and nature may not be as clear as they thought. For every scientist studying him respectfully, others wanted fame and profit from the legend. After years, excitement turned into conflict. More attention made Oliver's identity a show rather than a story. Scientific voices ultimately separated myth from fact. The Oliver mystery would take another turn, taking him away from cameras and headlines and into something more revealing than expected. Why did a tiny TV chimp go from fascinating to controversial? And what facts lay beneath the myth that kept people glued? The science that destroyed the myth by late 2020, Oliver's rumors had become a legend. He rotated between owners, from Hollywood interest to research subject to quiet oblivion for years. However, the question that made him renowned remained unresolved. Did Oliver have human parts? Scientists, journalists, and the public wanted to understand human Z. Modern science could solve the questions. When researchers ultimately chose to dispel the rumor, they used a technology not available during Oliver's early years: DNA testing. Oliver's blood and hair were carefully gathered and tested in genetic sequencing labs. The method was exact, rigorous, and focused on uncovering what decades of speculation had missed. My crew has occasionally given me odd tasks throughout the years. Weeks of analysis confirmed what experts suspected, but the public was slow to accept. Oliver wasn't hybrid. He was a pure pan-troglodyte chimpanzee. His DNA tests indicated no human DNA, no cross-species merging, and no biological mystery. What appeared unusual to the naked eye was chimpanzee natural variation. His flatter face, lighter skin tone, and calm demeanor were due to his individuality, not anything abnormal. Results provided closure for scientists. They evoked a quiet melancholy among the public. Oliver's decades-long myth was ended. He was no genetic miracle or between-worlds creature. Oliver was just a chimp who had been misunderstood, mislabeled, and overexposed by humans. Even after the truth was exposed, Oliver's narrative was meaningful. His fascination revealed the human predisposition to recognize ourselves in nature and recognize ourselves in other creatures. It also showed how swiftly amazement becomes exploitation. Oliver was viewed as a conundrum and a spectacle for business and amusement for most of his life. Oliver's journey changed after the tests. After being freed from his myths, he was cared for by individuals who wanted to give him serenity and dignity. The experts who studied him relocated him somewhere safe, where he might live as the intelligent, gentle creature he had always been. Oliver's well-being was prioritized once the human Z legend was resolved. The world that scoffed and speculated about him transformed. Now the purpose was to offer him the life he had been denied for so long, not to question his origins. Life of peace, safety, and freedom. Oliver found sanctuary, where his narrative could finally turn from myth to meaning, instead of television stardom. How could a fame-trapped creature find peace in silence and forever alter our view of humanity? Oliver's fame faded as the public learned the truth about his DNA. He moved on from the spotlight for the first time in decades when the cameras stopped rolling. An aging chimpanzee who had spent most of his life being transported from place to place, misunderstood, and rarely paid his due remained. Despite all, Oliver's kindness remained. The years after were pivotal. Oliver was cared for by people who cared for him, no longer as an experiment or spectacle. He was relocated to a Texas primate sanctuary, recognized for saving and rehabilitating monkeys victimized by entertainment, laboratories, and private owners. Oliver found safety, camaraderie, and dignity here after years of being denied them. Staff were impressed by his composure when he arrived at the refuge. Oliver was not aggressive despite his past trauma and instability. He carried himself with peaceful grace, sitting in the sunlight with his eyes half closed, savoring the silence. The carers gave him a huge, cozy enclosure with trees to climb, blankets to snuggle in, and other rescued chimps nearby. Oliver eventually settled into a pleasant rhythm. His days were simple but rewarding. Fresh fruit in the morning, long repose, and occasional curiosity as he watched his surroundings. He was peaceful, almost thoughtful, a chimp who had witnessed humanity's extremes, from admiration to exploitation, and survived without bitterness, according to shelter staff. He demonstrated affection by eating food by hand, producing soft vocalizations, or simply looking at his carers with a thank you expression. Not sure, but it's a garden. Not a big garden. It is. Not a big garden. Quite comfortable. I like it. I like it. Oliver rarely appeared in public, but his co-workers recognized his story. Others saw him as more than a former celebrity chimp. He symbolized resilience, how easy wonder can morph into misunderstanding, and how even the most mistreated animals can trust and be peaceful. Oliver grew old gracefully. His brown hair grayed, and he slowed down. However, he stayed vigilant. Eventually, he found what fame never could: freedom to exist without judgment, being neither mystery nor myth, but himself. He was never alone and always cared for by sanctuary workers. Oliver was surrounded by calm compassion for the first time in his long and convoluted life, not flashing cameras or nosy people. The story that started with laughing on national television has become a story of survival, acceptance, and redemption. Even in tranquil settings, time marches on. After years at primarily primates, the world would say farewell to the monkey who had once broken the border between curiosity and compassion, whose dying days would reflect his always deserved peace. When Oliver died, what did the world lose? Mystery solved or reflection of humanity? Stay with us. Last days of a kind soul. Oliver aged and slowed as the seasons passed silently at primates, his young vitality replaced by a peaceful stillness that spoke of wisdom and fatigue. The years had imprinted their story of captivity, curiosity, and tranquility on his face. He was more than a rescued animal to his carers. He was living history, showing how thin the line between interest and exploitation is. Oliver's physique began to decline in his 50s, a remarkable period for a chimpanzee. His steps were heavier and his hands less firm, but his soul was unwavering. He still appreciated warm sunlight, luscious food, and his comfortable blanket, according to carers. He liked to sit near the edge of his enclosure and study the world in silence, his deep eyes reflecting both calmness and an almost human understanding that words cannot express. Sanctuary workers made sure he had everything despite his poor health. They supplied warmth on cold evenings, special foods to aid his aging digestion, and medical care as needed. Most importantly, they respected him. No crowds, flashing lights, or tests. Only gentle words and steady hands. Oliver now had care, not curiosity. Oliver died in 2023 after over 50 years. He died gently in his sleep, leaving a grateful and reflective silence. His carers mourned him. He was no specimen or spectacle to them. A buddy who had survived much and nevertheless faced the world with serene dignity. Fans of Johnny Carson's Baby Gorilla learned of his death. This evoked nostalgia and thought. Oliver's journey from TV stardom to scientific mystery, captivity, shelter, and calm had culminated. After a life of misunderstanding, he died with dignity. Even after his death, he inspired thought on humaneness. Did Oliver's silent gaze still say something we don't understand? His tale may reveal more about us than him. Legend surviving legacy. Oliver's 2023 death ended a remarkable adventure, but his narrative lived on. I think it deepened it. Little Chimp, who made millions smile on The Tonight Show, featuring Johnny Carson, left more than fame. A legacy that challenges animal intelligence and empathetic perceptions. After his death, Oliver's narrative appeared in documentaries, research talks, and internet archives. His calmness and expressive eyes impressed viewers rewatching the old clip. A new generation who had never seen Johnny Carson on TV saw Oliver as more than a curious animal visitor. He symbolized humanity's complicated connection with the animals it studies, entertains, and misunderstands. His story mirrored our interest with the unknown and our sympathy when we listen instead of exploit. Oliver's case is widely used by scientists to teach humility and empathy. Disproving the human Z myth generated discussions about animal care and human curiosity's ethical limits. Have some studio audience members participate so they can take something home. Oliver's existence inspired many sanctuaries, researchers, and campaigners to reconsider how captivity animals, especially those employed for entertainment or study, are treated. These measures quietly preserve his legacy by improving monkeys' protections, living conditions, and respect globally. The sanctuary staff who knew Oliver best said he transformed hearts, not headlines or studies. They said his kindness won over even the most skeptical visitors. Standing before him showed them that intelligence and emotion are not human only. His story silently pleaded for kindness to all creatures, big or little. Even decades after his memorable TV appearance, Oliver Snippets continue to spread his memory into new homes and hearts. Though he started as a mystery, he concluded as a message that reminds us that genuine grandeur is in what unites us. What do you think? Oliver's story, misinterpreted science, or reminder of our connection to nature? Comment your thoughts. Remember to like, share, and subscribe.